My name is Gage Clark. I was born in Shasta County. I moved down to Sacramento 5-6 years ago, and I like wrestling. I like football. I love to draw. I love reading. Good hobbies. That's basically it. Not much to it. Enjoy what I do. What brought me into wrestling? The fact that, unlike football, the QB messed up. The guy didn't block for me. The lineman, there's always a he say, they said in football or any other sport really. But in wrestling, if you fail, if you got the takedown on you, you couldn't get that point, you couldn't escape, it's your fault. And I like that. I like that fact that it's all on me. So when I do win and I do succeed, it's proof that it's all because of hard work, not just because of luck. That's why I do. That's why I like wrestling.
But what brought you in? Like, did you always like wrestling, or like one day you watch a movie and you're like, oh, I want to wrestle, or what?
I never really liked it. Never really thought anything about it until I went to one practice. Freshman year, last year, I just went to the first practice and got on the mat, and I loved it. It's first day. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't even know what it was. I thought it was more like WWE almost. But first practice, first day, just my heart fell for it. Loved it. Never stopped doing it since.
So I heard that you decided last year, after some thought, that you wanted just to quit football completely and stick to wrestling. Why?
Like I said earlier, there's so much that can happen in a football game that wasn't my fault, but because they messed up, I messed up too. Like I said, back to what I said, the QB threw the ball, I couldn't catch it, or he messed up the throw. He couldn't block for me. I couldn't run it properly. Ooh, it's always the he said, she said, right? Wrestling, there's so much accountability for it. I love it. And plus, it's more physically demanding too. I think that's also what drew me to it. It's more physically demanding, unlike football. And the camaraderie with it as well. It's so much more deeper. The sportsmanship, way more intense. That's all I got. So.
What are your goals, knowing that you just fully committed to wrestling? Like, what is your standard set to?
My standards is to, be a 3-time or 2-time state qualifier, place at state. This year, if I get to Masters, that's all right. That's a solid goal to get to Masters this year. But what I'm really achieving is state this year, and that's not going to happen unless I come every day, unless I put the dedication in, unless I come 2 practices a day probably. I need to put a lot more work in than everybody else. I know guys that are my age and they're whooping my butt, and that's a little disheartening. I'm playing catch up every day, so come every day, 2 times a day. That's a goal. Masters, state, every day. Come practice.
Okay. And how do you think your progression has gone from last year, during this time, like first time ever stepping on the mat, to now? Like, what would you think you have grown in?
What have I grown more?
Like, what are your improvements? What do you see your level at?
Definitely hand fighting. I think hand fighting's changed a lot, because without hand fighting, you can't move your opponent. And I think last year I had my hands down. You can see some videos on it too online if you want to look. My hands were just all over the place. I wasn't pushing right. My angles were horrible. But I think this year, especially my snap downs, they've gotten a lot better. My shots, they've gotten better, but not as much as my snap downs, my hand fighting. My single leg, that's like what's jumped a lot in my opinion since last year. I hit the single leg once or twice in the entire season, in a match, once or twice. This year I'm hitting it every other match, 2 times a match. My single leg, probably my high C as well. That just jumped up since I came to Gallardo. I think Gallardo is one of the best programs for me in my opinion. I have such a connection here. I come every day, especially Coach Sam. He's other side of the mic, other side of the camera. He's one of the main reasons why I'm so good at wrestling and why I enjoy it and why I like coming back. And he's a real figure in my life in that sense.
Okay. Is there anything you want to tell your future self, like a year from now, 2 years from now, maybe even 5 years from now after you complete everything that you wanted to seek?
Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Don't stop. If you think about doing it, do it. That's all. To my future self, at least. Those are the words I got for my future self. Do what you got to do.
Do you want to wrestle college?
I really do. That's something I'm really looking forward to. And there's two things that I think you can wrestle in college. You got to be good enough to wrestle, of course, but grades. You have to have the grades, the GPA. You have to have all the credits you need. You know, that's what sets you apart from other kids as well, your grades. People don't realize it. You can be, you know, a 2-time state qualifier, 3-time state qualifier, and you can place at state. But if your grades are, you know, if you're just a C average student, you're average. They don't really see, sure they see your wrestling, but your grades is what, like, your transcript. You send that into colleges, you know, all that stuff, and that's what they see. Oh, he's a C average? This kid right here, you know, 1-time state qualifier, he's straight A's, 4.0. They're gonna pick him over you, even though you're better at wrestling. It's all about grades. So that's the biggest part, in my opinion. When you're a student athlete, it's not athlete. So you have to go to school, be in school, forget about wrestling. To be honest, kind of my thought, you have to forget about wrestling for the entire day. From 8 all the way to 3:45 for some schools, just always school. All your homework during your lunch break, you know? If you have any time, do your homework. So when you get home, you can focus on wrestling. Then you can go to practice 4 hours a day, you know? All about grades.
All right. Is there any shout outs to your parents, to your grandma, people driving you around?
I gotta say, my Aunt Kristen, she's been driving me all over the place. She gets mad at me a lot, driving me all over the place. My grandma, spending some money for the tournaments and all the stuff, all the car rides, all the gas money, spent a lot. And maybe my dad and my mom as well. They came to see me a few times. My dad, you know, he's been pushing me a lot to do this. He's an advocate for this sport. He loves it. Even though he's never really wrestled himself, he's not really an athlete, but he loves the sport. He says this is like something he really respects me for doing, you know. Because before high school, I was like a couch potato. I wasn't chubby, but I was pretty unathletic. Let's just say that. And since I took up wrestling and sports, he's really like became a bit of a happier person in that sense. Appreciate him for that. And that's basically it. Close family.
All right, the last question.
Last question.
For a high school kid like you last year, a first generational wrestler, okay, what are some things you've learned that improve your wrestling the most? What is a route or a schedule, anything, a routine, anything that you feel has boosted your wrestling to the next level?
The one thing that I think that has boosted my quality of wrestling since last year, unlike most kids, they wrestle during season, which is 3 months. It's 12 weeks. I found out a little earlier that in order to be good, especially if you start at high school, you start as a sophomore, start as a freshman, you need to come every day. You can't miss any practices because you're playing catch up with a kid that's been wrestling since 8th grade or 7th grade. So it's always catch up in my opinion. That's why you come every day, wrestle all year round. That means after season ends, everyone's gone. Find a club like me. Go to Gallardo, go to Relinda, go to any other school that has a club. It's all about mat time. When someone says mat time, really, they're speaking about experience, right? If it's about moving to one good position to another good position before your enemy does, right? So it's about getting experience on the mat. And that's just finding someone to move around, roll around with for 30 minutes a day. You know, it's as little as that. Or do like 200 push-ups a day, or, you know, don't stop wrestling. Because as soon as you stop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start to get your edge goes down. You get dull, you know? So wrestle every day. Stay dedicated and year round. It's always year round. It's always wrestling, never stop. Because once you do that, you start to jump. And people see it, trust me. You don't think you're improving, you don't think this, you don't think that. But as soon as you get to that one match, you know, it's gonna show. People are gonna see. And when that happens, you're gonna feel good about yourself, and it's all gonna pay off. So come every day, don't skip. 1 day is insurmountable. 1 week is insurmountable. But in the long run, it means everything. So always come, don't skip, and you have to love what you do as well. Don't force yourself. Don't just drag yourself through practice. You have to come with the passion. You can walk out these doors and hate wrestling, but as soon as you get in this room, you have to love it, put a smile on your face, and enjoy it. And don't zone out, focus up. That's basically all I can say about being as good as you can possibly be. It's all about mat time. Come every day. Always find a club, even if it costs some money. You know, I think if you pay some money, I mean, like, you know, it costs a lot of money, $100 a month, $200 a month. That's a little extreme. But if you really love what you do, you're going to find a way to do it. You know, and I mean, just find a way. It's always about mat time, you know. That's all I got to say for this interview. I enjoyed it. So.
Well, what do we train for?
What do we train for? Overtime! Overtime, baby!
Bro. Good. You say your name right?
Yeah, in the beginning.
Okay.